Premier Ag account manager for Greensburg area.
I'm Alex Case, also a account manager for the Greensburg area.
Today we're going to talk to you guys about some traits in some soybeans. Alex, if you want to start off with the extent.
Yeah, so I'll start off. So moving forward, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market on what type of regulatory things that may or may not change moving forward for the 2021 season, as far as when we'll be able to use herbicides with certain traits and that sort of thing. So there'll be more to come if there's changes to that. So briefly, I'm going to talk about the Extend platform and the Extend Flex platform. The Extend Flex platform still does not have European export approval, but we look for that to be coming very soon. So where that would be a change for you all that have been using the Extend platform is the Extend Flex platform is going to give us the opportunity to bolt Liberty on in that herbicide program. So as we move into a growing season and there's a cutoff date where we cannot use the Extend approved herbicides, Liberty would give us another option as something to come in to help us out on some broadleaf control. Obviously, we're probably still going to be using Roundup as the backbone of the grass control and for a lot of the broadleaf control in that system. But there's going to be situations where we can utilize Liberty for buffer areas, or once a date has passed and we're dealing with things maybe like water hemp and things like that, where we can still utilize Liberty in that system to help you all get a good clean field. Like I said, a lot of it today we just don't know what that's going to look like, but the Extend Flex platform is definitely going to give us some more flexibility moving forward with that. Obviously, a lot of you guys have had a lot of success with it using the Extend products, whether they be Ingenia, Extendamax, Fexapan, Tavium would be the products right now. It's done us a really good job in tearing down some big mare's tail in a burn down situation, and hasn't given us a lot of grief in that time period because we usually are not dealing with a lot of other sensitive crops that we've got to deal with the borders and such things on. So right now, like I said, we're waiting on that approval for the Liberty piece, but if we get that, that is also a good option to help us with mare's tail. The thing to keep in mind with Liberty is we're going to be going after little weeds all the time, not big weeds. So in the past, you all have been able to use these Extend chemical products to control some bigger giant ragweeds and potentially a little bit bigger on the water hemp and palmer species and mare's tail species. The Liberty is a really good herbicide for broadleaves, but we're going to be looking to kill 2 and 3 inch weeds. So always keep that in mind. We're not going to tear down the big weeds that we have with the dicamba products, but like I said, it's going to be a nice addition to that platform and maybe offer you guys some crop safety up against neighboring crops. I think that's another thing Steve and I visited about before we were going to have this conversation, is it's going to be really important moving forward for you all to have a good understanding of what potentially your neighbors have, especially on the downwind side. So that's going to change day to day what you're dealing with there. But there's more traits out there now. There's people that are using Roundup and Liberty. There's people who are going to be using the Extend or the Extend Flex platform, people using the Enlist platform, non-GMO, and even in a few instances you may have some neighbors that are using just a straight Roundup soybean, or a straight Liberty soybean. So I think it's important to really understand that moving forward, to try to work that out with neighbors and understand what you're up against, and also for them to understand what they're up against with your crops.
So talk to you a little bit about the Enlist platform. Been a long time coming. Finally got to roll it out in its full opportunity this year. A lot of what Alex touched on with the Extend Flex program is kind of, a lot of that will piggyback with what you can do on the Enlist platform. So with Enlist, you have the E3 beans that are Enlist tolerant, which is 2,4-D, and glyphosate tolerant, also Liberty tolerant. So a lot of what Alex said, you can use the Liberty for some harder to control things. It gives you just more opportunity to go after some tougher weeds. Probably would never in an instance run all 3 of those together. And with the Liberty or the Enlist program, then you could potentially leave the Roundup out and just use a section for grass control or clethodim herbicide to pick up volunteer corn. So you've got some flexibility there as well. we'll see what happens moving forward. It seems like everything changes rapidly as far as what's approved, what's not approved. So far, the Enlist is still approved for use in crop, no cutoff date. That might change between now and next year. That remains to be seen. One big thing that we got into as we were selling seed last year, there was some pushback on yield. And it seems like everybody wants to, all of our competitors want to say, well, there's a 5 bushel yield drag with the Enlist platform. We did not see that locally at Premier Ag last year in our trials. Nationally, we had 222 side-by-side comparisons with only a 0.3 of a bushel disadvantage to Enlist. So that's not a big difference at all. Really, some would say that's no significant difference. Locally, we had 88 trials side by side and only a 0.5 bushel difference. Again, not a lot of difference in yield. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up to let guys know that the yield drag is what we've seen is not there. So don't let that make a decision for you as far as which platform you want to plant.
I think it's just as much anything working with your account manager and finding the bean that works right for your acre and your system, whether that be the maturity range you're going after, the weed control that you're looking for, the crop safety that you're looking for. And then fortunately within Premier Ag, like I said, we've got a lot of very local data, so plots that are on some of your neighbors and friends' property. So Steve and I can feel pretty confident when we get talking about a particular soil type, whether it's a Avonburg Claremont flat or it's something that's got a lot of Cincinnati clay banks. We are very familiar with those things, and a lot of you are very familiar with them as well. So I think as much as anything, it's not so much the platform that you choose, it's just making sure that we're picking the right variety, whether for the maturity and the topography and your style of farming that fits you. And I think if you were to take the wrong product and put it in the wrong place, you may see some of these 5 and 6 bushel differences in favor of any of these platforms or at a disadvantage to any of these platforms. So like I said, keep all that in mind. We feel like we're really well versed to help you through that. We've got multiple brands to offer you. So the Enlist system, right now we know that we're able to bring you Mycogen products, which is now Brevant. And the NK products, the cropland products, got a very robust portfolio of Enlist for you all to look at. And when we get into the Extend Flex, which we hope to have approval on, we look to have that in a cropland bag and as well in an Asgrow bag. And I don't know who else will be on board with that, but we're going to have options the whole way through. And hey, maybe for you all, we haven't talked about it, but the Liberty League GT27,
Right.
That may be an option too. We're still waiting on a herbicide approval there to really bring that into fruition to where we can utilize everything it can do to help us. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, we don't know. But I think at the end of the day, what it boils down to is, as we move forward here, just try to stay on top of that with your people you work with at Premier Ag. More importantly, picking out what varieties that are going to fit with whatever trait platform that you go with. But I think we're very comfortable, whichever platform you choose to go to, we can find you products that will be a good fit. I think the other thing Steve and I we would probably concur on is we're probably going to discourage y'all doing multiple trait packages, and if you're going to do that, it's going to take some sincere planning and thinking ahead, because we all get into situations every year where it might have not been somebody we were involved with. We found situations where somebody forgot what trait they really had, or they did something different on another farm. I think if you guys can figure out, which platform you want to go with, that's going to be the simplest. And if you do multiple platforms, then make sure that everybody you work with is aware of what you're doing on different farms, so we don't have any issues there. So
one thing I'd add to that is I've had multiple calls this year with Enlist being launched that there's a a misconception that dicamba and 2,4-D are the same thing. They are absolutely not the same thing. Dicamba beans will be killed by an application of Enlist, as well as Enlist beans will be killed by an application of dicamba. So let's make sure we all keep that straight. If you guys have any questions, make a phone call. It's a lot easier to do that beforehand and solve a lot of problems.
Yep. Save seed tags as well. Well, if you're getting bulk deliveries from us, we bring along the paperwork with the variety. And if you're planting bag beans, just make it a practice to keep all those and put them in a cupboard in the barn or in the tool shed, or throw them in a drawer somewhere, or a binder in your planning tractor, and then if there's any doubt or unsure as we move forward, you always got something to go back on. And of course, we've got records here in the office as well to help you through that.
So with that being said, unless you have anything else, please contact Alex or myself or your local account manager, and we'll be glad to help you out however we can.
Hey, appreciate your time. Thanks for your business, and we look forward to 2021.